Hi there, I hope you're doing fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about Dolby Atmos mixing versus stereo mixing. What is better? What are the pros and cons of each, etc. Hi, my name is Tyson. I'm a mastering engineer here at Dinosaur Dog Mastering, and today I want to talk about Dolby Atmos mixing versus stereo mixing and why you might want to consider Dolby Atmos mixes for your songs. Before I dive into that though, I do want to let you know I have the ultimate mixing checklist available for download. You can get that in the description of this video. The first link in the description will bring you to a page where you can download that for free. And it is a great mixing checklist that I use in all of my mixes to get better and faster mixes. So if you are interested in that, then get that in the description below. Let's start talking about Dolby Atmos mixing versus stereo mixing, why you might want to consider it, etc. The first thing I want to let you know is that Apple Music is pushing Dolby Atmos really hard, if you haven't already heard, and they are actually not playlisting any songs that don't have a Dolby Atmos mix. Meaning, if you don't have a Dolby Atmos mix for your song, you're not going to be considered for playlists in Apple Music. Therefore, even though you are putting out songs, your name isn't even in the hat to get picked and selected for playlists. Big problem, because most of the way that's how people discover a lot of new music. And so if you're not being discovered in playlists, then you're not going to be being discovered at all, and therefore your song has no traction. So big red flag in my mind of if you don't have a Dolby Atmos mix for your song, you're already behind the curve. And so you need to kind of get up with the times and be able to produce a mix. Do I think it's a better format for music? That's a great question, because I don't think it's necessarily a better format for music. And I'm going to explain why after we do an example. So I'm going to jump over to the DAW really quick, and I'm going to show you exactly what a stereo versus a Dolby Atmos mix sounds like if you don't already know. So put on a pair of headphones, listen to this mix, and then I'll be back, discuss a little bit more here. All right, so here I have two mixes, and one is in a stereo format, the other is in a Dolby Atmos format. And so you can actually A/B them side by side and decide which one is more pleasing and better. Just a reminder, make sure you're wearing headphones for this, otherwise you're not going to be able to monitor this properly. It's going to sound really weird if you just have monitors that you're using. Okay, so make sure you're wearing your headphones, and let's dive into this mix. So this is the stereo mix that I'm going to play for you first, and then I'm going to play the Dolby Atmos for you. Okay, so now that you've actually heard the difference between a stereo mix and a Dolby Atmos mix, obviously there is a difference here. And I think the Dolby Atmos mix it opens up a lot of possibilities that didn't previously exist inside of a stereo format. There's a lot more space, there's a lot less need to just carve out frequencies and just stack sounds on top of one another. So everything sounds a little bit more clear, more apparent. You can really identify various objects in the mix a lot easier than in a stereo format. So I think that there is honestly a good thing about Dolby Atmos mixes. The issue is that it's harder to access. So if you want to release music, then you need to get a Dolby Atmos mix and a normal stereo mix for your song, and also get both of those things mastered in order to actually, just release a song like normal. And while I think that there's a downside to that, obviously, because it's making it less accessible for the independent artist, bedroom producer, etc., to release music and get that music heard. I think there's also a benefit of, if you're taking it seriously and actually do take those extra steps, you're going to get a leg up on everybody else who is just clueless and isn't even paying attention to this. I'm going to talk about the formats themselves and also the pros and cons for each. So let's start with stereo mixes first of all. So the benefit of the stereo mix is that it's already established. We kind of know the best practices of how to get a great stereo mix, and ultimately we know how to produce a song to then get into a stereo mix well, for the most part. That knowledge is readily available. You can look on anywhere on YouTube. My channel has a ton of stuff about stereo mixes and how to get a good stereo mix. Dolby Atmos mixes, though, are kind of the Wild West. And so there are a few established best practices already, but it's still kind of loose in terms of what an actual best practice in a Dolby Atmos mix is. So that is not as well established. And so therefore, there's a lot more opportunity for those people getting into Dolby Atmos mixing early to then establish those best practices and really just experiment with what's possible, right? We're opening up the entire stereo field around, and so we're creating immersive experiences with our music, which is really a cool concept. And I really like the concept behind it. I think it's a little inaccessible in a lot of ways because it's not very common inside of the home theater system, outside of an actual home theater that has legit surround sound. You can't really hear it and experience it in a lot of formats except outside of headphones, which I think is getting there. It's not quite to where it should be, but it is moving in the right direction of being able to experience spatial audio inside of headphones. Is the Dolby Atmos format actually better for your music? And I have come to one conclusion after experiencing it, mastering songs in Dolby Atmos versus the stereo format, etc. My conclusion is you need a Dolby Atmos mix for your song. Whether or not it's a better format, you need one because it's going to leave your name out of the hat for things like being playlisted on Apple Music. There's a lot of playlists that are specifically designed that only have Dolby Atmos music because people are experimenting with this format and want to listen to music in that format. So granted, it's not the mass market, but there's a select group of people that are intentionally listening in that format. And so they're also very invested in music. And so you probably want them as a fan. Just a thought there. And then also, in terms of, is it a better format? I don't think anybody can say that because in my experience, Dolby Atmos tends to be an afterthought for most songs. And so artists will produce their song like normal in the stereo format, and then they'll get to the end of the project and then say, oh, I think we need a Dolby Atmos mix for this song too because of these X and X reasons. While I think that's true, but they don't have any forethought of, is this going to be mixed in Dolby Atmos in the production process? Because there's things in the production process you can do to make it fit better in a Dolby Atmos format. And so those songs that I've heard that had that intention from the beginning to be in a Dolby Atmos mix and spatial audio, those songs sound amazing in that format. But songs that were produced intentionally for a stereo format and then converted into a Dolby Atmos format, it's kind of hit or miss. Some of them are great and some of them are not that great. It depends really on what the production decisions were and if they really translate well to a Dolby Atmos format. So I don't think it's necessarily better or worse. I just think it's different. And there's a lot of possibility though with it, which is really fun. And so I am excited to be playing around with this format because it's honestly really fun. There's a lot more possibilities in this format than there are in the traditional stereo format. So all of the projects that I am producing intentionally for the Dolby Atmos format just because it's fun and because I can. And I'm not trying to make money with my own personal music. I am just having fun, and so I'm just gonna do whatever I want. That being said, I think it's a really cool format, and I would encourage you to play around with it and experiment with it. So I'm gonna be releasing videos on my channel about kind of intermixed with a spatial formats and how to get started in mixing in Dolby Atmos if you haven't already, and just kind of some basics and best practices to help you get started. If you want more of that, then let me know in a comment down below, and I will be sure to produce more content around Dolby Atmos. Thanks for watching. If you found this at all helpful, then And don't forget to subscribe as I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to help you get more professional mixes. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.